Julie Kim had long since memorized the geography of her own isolation. For 3 years she had lived as a ghost in a gilded cage, an arranged marriage to Kwang Lee, the heir to one of Seoul's most ruthless and terrifying criminal syndicates. Their union was a clinical transaction, a high-stakes merger that existed entirely on paper to secure her father's technology patents and Kwang's family protection. For Julie, the marriage had been a slow-motion vanishing act. They lived under the same roof but moved through the house like strangers in a terminal. They slept in separate wings of the penthouse, their lives intersecting only during mandatory public appearances. She was a business asset that had been acquired, filed away, and eventually forgotten. She had spent the first year waiting for him to knock on her door, the second year wondering what was wrong with her, and the third year simply learning how to stop caring. Before we dive deeper into this story, click the subscribe button and tell us where you are watching from in the comment section. If this story moves you, share it with someone who loves a good tale. Do not forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story. But the world shifted at the annual charity gala. The event was a glittering display of Seoul's elite, men in 5-figure suits and women in diamonds, all pretending their hands weren't stained with the blood of their business dealings. Julie had chosen her dress with a specific kind of defiance, a deep crimson silk that clung to her curves, making her fair skin glow against the dark mahogany of the ballroom. She wasn't dressed to be a wife, she was dressed to be seen. As she stood near the bar, nursing a glass of vintage champagne and laughing at a joke made by an American entrepreneur, she felt the temperature in the room change. It wasn't Kwang. Kwang was, as usual, in a back room discussing logistics. The man who approached her was Yang Choi. Everyone in their world knew the name. Yang was the ambitious, predatory heir to a rival syndicate that had been at the Lee's throats for a generation. He was younger than Kwang, possessed of a dangerous, intelligent beauty and a reputation for taking exactly what he wanted. He had spent years watching Kwang waste the most valuable thing he owned, watching Julie wither in a marriage that was nothing more than a footnote in a contract. "Mrs. Lee," Yang said, his voice a smooth, magnetic hum that cut through the noise of the gala. "I don't believe we've been formally introduced. I am Choi Yang." Julie turned, her pulse quickening despite her resolve. "Mr. Choi, this is a private conversation. Which is why I'm here to rescue you from it," he countered. He flicked a glance at the man Julie had been talking to, a glance so cold and dismissive that the entrepreneur muttered an excuse and vanished into the crowd. Julie's hands tightened around her glass. That was unnecessary. He was being kind. He was being a distraction, Yang said, stepping closer. He didn't look at her rings, he looked directly into her eyes. "You looked bored, Julie. Bored and desperate for a reason to leave. I'm simply expediting the inevitable." "You have no right to use my first name," she whispered, though she didn't step back. "I have the right of a man who actually pays attention," Yang replied. He leaned in, the scent of his dark, expensive cologne wrapping around her. "I've studied your record. Stanford MBA. You speak 5 languages. You took your father's failing tech branch and turned it into a $1 billion powerhouse while your husband was busy playing soldier in the streets. You're a queen being treated like a pawn, Julie. And I find that to be a tragedy." He led her toward the private terrace, his hand hovering just inches from the small of her back, close enough to feel the heat, but far enough to maintain the lethal etiquette of their world. Outside, the Seoul skyline glittered like a pile of cold jewels. "What do you want, Yang?" Julie asked, her voice steady. "To offer you a way out," he said, lighting a cigarette with casual elegance. "Leave him. File for divorce. Walk away from this farce. When you do, come to me. I'll make you chief operating officer of my legitimate holdings. Real power. Real authority. A seat at the table that isn't just there because of who you married." Julie felt a dizzying rush of vertigo. This was treason. "You want to buy me out of my marriage?" "No. I want to hire the best mind in the city," Yang corrected. "The fact that it would humiliate Kwang to lose you is simply a bonus. He treats you like furniture, Julie. Decorative, expensive, but ultimately forgettable. I want to show you what it's like to be the architect of your own empire." He slid a heavy, matte black business card into her hand. "Call me when you're tired of being invisible. The corner office is already being measured for your desk." Julie didn't go home. The thought of those hollow, silent hallways was suddenly unbearable. She drove to the Gangnam apartment of her oldest friend, Mina, and collapsed onto the sofa. "Yang Choi is a shark, Julie," Mina warned as she poured 2 glasses of wine. "He doesn't do anything out of the goodness of his heart. He's identified a weakness in the Lee family, and that weakness is the way Kwang ignores you. He's using you as a weapon." I know that, Julie said, staring at the black card on the coffee table. But does it matter? If the shark is the only one offering me a life jacket while I'm drowning, should I care about his motives? Her phone buzzed on the table. It was an unknown number. I know you're at Mina's. If Kwang hasn't noticed you're missing by now, you have your answer. The text sent a chill through her. Yang was watching her, or he had eyes in every corner of the city. But the sting of the message was its truth. It was nearly 1 a.m. Kwang hadn't called. He hadn't texted. He likely didn't even know she had left the gala. I have to talk to him, Julie said, standing up. I owe him one chance to fight for this before I set it on the floor. When she entered the penthouse, she expected darkness. Instead, the lights were blinding. Kwang was sitting in the center of the living room, still in his tuxedo, his tie undone and a glass of amber liquid in his hand. His face was a mask of repressed violence. Where were you? His voice was a low vibration that made the air feel heavy. Out. Out where? Because my security detail tells me you spent 20 minutes on a dark terrace with the heir to the Choi Syndicate, and then you disappeared. He stood up, his movements fluid and predatory. Explain to me why my wife is taking meetings with my greatest enemy. Your wife. Julie laughed, a sharp, jagged sound. You haven't looked at me in 3 years, Kwang? You didn't even know I was at the gala tonight until your spies told you who I was talking to. You don't want a wife. You want a statue that stays where you put it. I was protecting you, Kwang snapped, slamming his glass onto the table. My world is blood and ash, Julie. I kept you in the separate wing to keep you clean. I kept my distance so you wouldn't become a target. Isolation is its own kind of target, she shouted back. Yang Choi offered me a job. He offered me respect. He offered me a life where I'm more than just a ghost in your house. He sees me, Kwang. He actually sees me. Kwang moved so fast she didn't have time to blink. He backed her against the heavy oak door, his hands caging her in. The scent of whiskey and cold rain rolled off him. He doesn't see you. He sees a way to hurt me. He sees a trophy he can steal to prove he's the better man. Then prove him wrong. Julie challenged, her heart hammering against his chest. You've had 3 years of silence. You've had 1,000 nights where you could have knocked on my door. Why now? Why only when another man wants me? Kwang's jaw tightened so hard she thought his teeth might crack. He looked down at her, and for the first time in their entire marriage, the wall of ice in his eyes shattered. She saw raw, unadulterated fear. Because I'm a coward, he whispered, his forehead dropping to hers. I thought if I didn't let myself want you, it wouldn't hurt when I eventually lost you to this life. But seeing you with him, seeing you look at him like he was your salvation, I realized I'd rather burn the city down than let you walk away. Julie breathed in, the proximity overwhelming her. He offered me a future, Kwang. Give me a month, Kwang pleaded, his grip on her shoulders firming. 1 month. No separate wings. No silence. Let me court you. Let me show you that I can be the man you need. If you still want to leave at the end of 30 days, I will sign the papers myself and let you go. But don't go to him because you think I don't care. Go to him only if you truly don't love me. Julie looked at the man who had been her husband in name only. She saw the bruises on his knuckles and the exhaustion in his eyes. She saw the man who was finally, desperately trying to bridge the gap. 1 month, she agreed. But these are the terms. You tell me the truth about the business. You treat me as an equal. And we sleep in the same room. I'm done living in a separate wing like a guest. Kwang's gaze darkened with a new kind of intensity. Agreed. The first week was an exercise in tension. Kwang didn't know how to be a husband. He brought her flowers that she was allergic to, and he tried to make small talk that felt like a deposition. But he was there. He came home for dinner. He sat with her and talked about his day, the real day, the dangerous one. He began to realize that Julie wasn't just a tech heiress. She was a strategist. When he complained about a supply chain issue in his legitimate shipping business, she solved it in 10 minutes with a laptop and a spreadsheet. Why didn't I ask you 3 years ago? He asked one night, watching her work. Because you were too busy protecting me to notice I could protect myself, she said without looking up. But the ghost of Yang Choi remained. A week into the arrangement, a courier delivered a box to the penthouse. Inside was a pair of obsidian and diamond earrings and a note. The corner office has a view of the mountains. Don't let a month of guilt make you forget 3 years of loneliness. Kwang saw the note. He didn't explode. He simply picked up the earrings, walked to the balcony and tossed them into the night. He's trying to provoke a war, Kwang said, turning back to her. He knows my temper. He wants me to attack him so he can look like the rational choice. Then don't, Julie said, walking to him. She reached out, tentatively placing a hand on his chest. Show him you've already won. Kwang looked down at her hand, then pulled her into his arms. The kiss was desperate, tasting of years of wasted time and a new, terrifying hope. For the first time, the penthouse didn't feel like a cage. It felt like a fortress. As the days turned into weeks, the partnership deepened. Julie began attending meetings by Kwang's side. The syndicate was shocked to see the trophy wife dismantling their logistics errors and negotiating with dock unions. She became his secret weapon, the brain behind the muscle. Yang Choi, however, was not finished. He realized that Julie was slipping through his fingers, and with her, the chance to destabilize the Lee family. On the final night of the month, Yang requested a summit at a neutral club in Gangnam. He claimed he had evidence of a traitor within Kwang's inner circle. It's a trap, Kwang said as they dressed for the evening. I know, Julie said, checking the small, elegant lace gun he had taught her to hide in her garter. But it's a trap we're going to walk into together. They entered the club like a royal couple. The music was low, the air thick with the tension of two rival armies sitting at opposite ends of the room. Yang sat in a velvet booth, looking at them with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. So, Yang said, leaning back. The month is up. Have you had enough of the reformed husband act, Julie? The office is still waiting. My offer hasn't changed. Julie looked at Yang, then at Kwang. She remembered the cold rain of the gala and the black card. She remembered the silence of the last 3 years. But she also remembered the last 30 days, the way Kwang had listened to her, the way he had defended her, and the way he looked at her when the world wasn't watching. Your offer was about power, Yang, Julie said, her voice echoing in the sudden silence of the club. You wanted to use me to prove you were better than Kwang. You didn't want a COO, you wanted a trophy with a title. Yang's smirk flickered. And what is he giving you? A life of crime? A husband who will always have a target on his back. He gave me a choice, Julie said, stepping closer to Kwang. He let me see the man behind the mask. He didn't try to buy me, he tried to earn me. And as for your corner office? I don't need it. I'm building my own empire right here. Kwang stepped forward, his hand resting possessively on the nape of Julie's neck. You have your answer, Yang. If you ever contact my wife again, if you even breathe her name in a room I'm in, the truce is over. And you know I don't play as clean as she does. They walked out of the club hand in hand, leaving the rival syndicate in stunned silence. Back at the penthouse, standing on the balcony where the journey had truly begun, Kwang turned her to face him. The moon was high, casting silver light over the city. The month is officially over, he said softly. You're free to go, Julie. I'll sign the papers tomorrow if that's what you want. Julie looked at the man she had once feared and then loathed and finally impossibly loved. She reached up, unpinning her hair and letting it fall over her shoulders. I think, she said, a small smile playing on her lips, that I'd like to see what happens in month 2. Kwang's relief was a physical thing. He pulled her into a kiss that was no longer desperate but certain. The world would still be dangerous. The syndicates would still fight. But Julie Kim was no longer a ghost, and she was no longer a pawn. She had found her voice, and she had found a man who was finally brave enough to listen to it. Ignoring what you have is the fastest way to lose it, but fighting for what you love is the only way to keep it. As the lights of Seoul hummed below them, Julie and Kwang didn't just look like a couple, they looked like a dynasty. The game had changed, and this time, Julie was the one holding all the cards. They had dinner together every night. Real conversations about work, family, and dreams neither had shared before. Kwang told her about growing up in his father's world, the violence and suffocating expectations that had shaped him into a statue of ice. Julie spoke of her loneliness, of the crushing weight of being a ghost in her own life, invisible even to those who claimed to love her. On Friday night, Kwang took her to a private restaurant overlooking the Han River. It was the same location where she had planned to meet Michael before her world imploded. You're bringing me here? Julie asked as they were seated at a premier table with floor-to-ceiling windows. I'm rewriting the memory, Kwang said, echoing her own past sentiment. Last time you were supposed to be here, you were looking for something I should have been giving you all along. Tonight, I'm here as your husband. Julie felt warmth bloom in her chest. He had been paying attention. He was truly listening. They talked through dessert and coffee, hours passing like minutes. Kwang asked about her work at her father's company, the ambitious projects she had managed in secret because the family patriarch refused to listen to her ideas. Show me, he said. The proposals you've been sitting on. Tomorrow. I want to see them. Why? Because I want to invest in them through the Lee Corporation's legitimate holdings. His smile was slight but genuine. If your own father won't see your value, I will. The next day, Kwang made good on his promise. He read every proposal, asking sharp, intelligent questions that challenged her to refine her thinking. By late afternoon, he had committed to backing 3 of her largest ventures. This one, he said, tapping a proposal for a tech incubator. This could change the landscape for Korean startups. Why hasn't your father funded it? He doesn't think I'm ready to lead something this significant. He's wrong. Kwang's certainty was absolute. You've been ready. And now you'll have the resources to prove it. Julie stared at the contract he had drafted. Her name was listed as CEO with full authority and real power. I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Because I'm making up for 3 years of stupidity, Kwang said, moving to stand beside her. I'm showing you that I see you. You're more than just my wife, you're brilliant and capable, and I was an idiot for not recognizing it sooner. That night they shared a bedroom for the first time. Kwang had moved his things into the master suite earlier that week, but this was the first night they were actually sharing the space. When Julie emerged from the bathroom, Kwang was already in bed. Come here, he said softly. Julie climbed in, hyper-aware of his warmth. Kwang pulled her close, her back against his chest. Is this okay? Yes, she whispered. Good. Because I'm not letting go. They lay in comfortable silence, the city lights filtering through the curtains. I think about you constantly, he admitted quietly. I have for 3 years. I just didn't let myself act on it. Why not? Because wanting you felt like weakness. In my world, weakness gets you killed. His arm tightened around her. But I was wrong. Losing you would be worse than any threat. Julie turned in his arms to face him. Do you mean that? Every word. Kwang's hand cupped her face. I'm falling for my own wife. It's backward and completely my fault for wasting 3 years, but it's true. I think I've been falling for you too, Julie admitted. Even when I hated you, there was always a hope that you'd eventually see me. I see you now. He rested his forehead against hers. Can I kiss you? Please. The kiss was soft and tentative, a question and an answer, a beginning instead of a continuation. When they pulled apart, Kwang smiled. We're doing this backward. Everything about us is backward. Then let's make it right. 2 weeks into their month, everything changed. Julie was in her new office reviewing contracts when her assistant buzzed her. Mrs. Lee, there is Choi Yang here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment. Julie's blood ran cold. She had hoped Yang would take her silence as an answer. Send him in. Yang entered looking as polished and dangerous as ever. Julie, CEO of your own venture. Corner office. Everything I promised you. Kwang delivered. You didn't. Did he? Yang set his phone on her desk. Or did he only deliver after I made it clear what he was losing? He swiped through recent photos. Kwang meeting a woman in a hotel lobby. Her name is Song Hannah. She's been his companion for 5 years. Long before you and likely long after. The photos showed Kwang in an intimate conversation, his hand on her arm. You're lying. Am I? Check his schedule. He's been meeting her every Wednesday afternoon for the past month. Even during your little reconciliation. Julie's hands shook as she checked Kwang's digital calendar. Wednesday afternoons were blocked off as private meetings. Get out, she whispered. Julie. Get out of my office. Now. Yang studied her face then nodded. When you're ready to face reality, you know where to find me. He left, leaving doubt behind like poison. Julie sat frozen. She could call Kwang now, but what if Yang was right? What if this month was a performance? She made a decision. On Wednesday afternoon, Julie left work early and followed Kwang. He went to a small cafe in Gangnam. Hannah was already there. Julie watched through the window as they talked, seeing Hannah's expression shift to tears while Kwang handed her an envelope. It looked exactly like what Yang had suggested. Julie walked away before she could see more. She pulled out her phone and messaged Yang, "We need to talk." His response was immediate, "I'll send a car." But then a text came from Kwang, "Where are you? I wanted to take you to dinner." Julie stared at the messages, 2 futures, 2 very different choices. She typed back to Kwang, "We need to talk. Tonight. Don't make plans." She ignored Yang's car. When Kwang arrived home, Julie was waiting with the photograph from Yang's phone. "Want to explain this?" Kwang went pale. "Where did you get this?" "Yang. He says you've been seeing her for 5 years. Is it true?" "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" Because it looks like you're meeting another woman while courting me. Kwang sat down heavily. Hannah is complicated. Uncomplicated. He was quiet for a long moment. Finally, she was my brother's girlfriend. He died 4 years ago in a territorial dispute. He wanted to leave the organization and build a life with her. After he died, I promised to take care of her. The Wednesday meetings are for me to deliver support payments. Julie stared at him. Your brother. June. He hated our father's world. I wanted to be normal. Hannah was his chance. And then he was killed because I couldn't protect him. Why didn't you tell me? Because talking about June is hard. And because I'm paying her off the books, it could be used against me if it leaked. I thought I could keep it separate from us. Julie's anger began to crack. You should have told me. Partners trust each other with the complicated parts. You're right. Kwang reached for her hands. I should have trusted you. I'm sorry. I need proof, she said quietly. I need to meet Hannah. Done. I'll arrange it for tomorrow. Kwang made the call immediately. That night, they lay in bed in tense silence. Julie felt the doubt Yang had planted creeping back. I'm scared, she admitted. That this is all an act because Yang wants me. That the moment he loses interest, you will too. Kwang turned her to face him. What I feel for you is real. I promise. How do I know? Because I'm terrified right now. Terrified that you'll believe Yang's poison instead of me. The next day they met Hannah at a secluded cafe. The woman was beautiful but exhausted. When she saw Kwang, she smiled with sisterly affection. Mrs. Lee, Hannah said. I know this must be confusing. For an hour, Hannah told the story of June and their plans to leave Seoul. Kwang has been like a brother to me. That is all he has ever been. She showed Julie photos, June and Hannah young and in love. Family photos. Proof. Julie felt her doubt crumbling. This was grief and loyalty, not a betrayal. After Hannah left, Julie spoke. I'm sorry for doubting you. No, I'm sorry for giving you reason to doubt. Kwang took her hand. No more secrets. That night, Julie's phone buzzed with a message from Yang. Did he manage to explain it away? Remember, I see you. My offer stands. Julie showed the message to Kwang. He didn't explode. What do you want to do? Block him. Delete it. Choose us, Julie said. The rest of the month passed in a blur of domesticity. Kwang continued courting her, planning elaborate dates and simple nights in. Julie's tech incubator launched to massive success, and even her father called to admit he had been wrong. On the last day of the month, Kwang took her to the penthouse rooftop at sunset. Your month is up, he said quietly. Stay with me, really stay, or take Yang's offer. Julie looked at the man who had learned to open up for her. I'm staying. Not because of what you gave me, but because I love you. Kwang's relief was beautiful. Say it again. I love you. I love you too. I'm going to spend the rest of our lives proving it. 6 months later, Julie stood in the boardroom of Lee Corporation, presenting quarterly results with confident authority. Kwang watched from the head of the table with pride. They had settled into a rhythm, leading their divisions while sharing their lives. The separate bedrooms were a distant memory. After the meeting, they rode the elevator down. You were amazing, Kwang said. Julie's phone buzzed. Yang. After 6 months of silence. I see you chose love over power. I hope it was worth it. She showed it to Kwang. Already blocked, Julie said, deleting it. He's not part of our lives. That evening they had dinner with Kwang's father. The old man had warmed to Julie, seeing her business acumen. This alliance has proven valuable, he said. It's not an alliance anymore, Kwang said, finding Julie's hand under the table. It's a marriage. Later, as they drove home, Julie felt a contentment she'd never expected. Hey Kwang, she said as they pulled into the garage. No more secrets. Ever. Ever. He raised her hand to his lips. Though I have something to tell you. I bought us a house. A real house with a garden. For a family. If that's something you want. You bought us a house? If you hate it, we'll sell it. But I thought we were ready. Julie kissed him deeply. Show me. Now. The house was perfect, modern but warm. This is ours. Julie breathed. If you want it. I want everything with you. 3 months later, Julie stood in her bathroom staring at a positive pregnancy test. When Kwang rushed home, she met him at the door. We're having a baby, she whispered. Kwang's expression cycled through shock and joy before he pulled her into a fierce embrace. I'm so happy I could burst. That night, Julie's phone buzzed one last time. Yang. I heard congratulations are in order. How domestic. I hope he appreciates what he almost lost. This time Julie didn't even show Kwang. She simply blocked the number permanently. She crawled into bed beside her husband, who placed a hand protectively on her stomach. I love you, he murmured. I love you too. Thank you, Kwang said. For giving me a second chance. For making me more than what I was. You did the same for me. They fell asleep tangled together. Two people who had signed a contract and found a love story. It had been messy and nearly destroyed, but they had chosen it. Julie had been offered power by a man who saw her value, but she had chosen love with a man who had learned to see her soul. As soul glittered outside, Julie finally understood the truth. She had never been invisible, she had just been waiting for someone to learn how to look. And Kwang had finally opened his eyes.